Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having an amazing day today. Today we're taking a look at Way of the Clans by Robert Thurston. This was the first BattleTech novel published in the ROC series. It's the first BattleTech novel that I ever read, and so we'll be doing a review of it. As a reminder, I've been doing a review of a lot of things that for this channel that I read when I was in grade school or junior high or high school or college or grad school. That I've never gone back into reread. Now that I'm 45, having a few decades of perspective and tons more reading in the queue, I've been going back to them for my channel and saying, okay, now what do I think of it now? And so I started reading the BattleTech stuff in 10th grade, and I read this trilogy, the Jade Phoenix trilogy, all back to back, and then which are the first 3 books that were published in the ROC BattleTech series, and then by Robert Thurston, and then I went back and I looked and I said, okay, let's read some other things. So I read all the things that were published up till that point in time. In 10th grade, and then I would just, as soon as another book was published, I'd pick it up from Walden Books and read it and enjoy it. So there you are. But I've never gone back and read a single BattleTech novel. I've only read all the BattleTech novels once. Now this is a series with more than 100 novels in it. We've already done Decision at Thunder Rift, which was published by William H. Keefe Jr. It was the first BattleTech novel. It was published by the company that made BattleTech, FASA, and then ROC picked up the series, and so they started publishing it. And so this is the this trilogy, and Way of the Clans. Way of the Clans is about 260 pages long, but it starts on page 8 after some maps. So in reality, it's probably more like 252 pages. And I knocked it out yesterday on a Saturday in just one day, which is really rare for me. I usually knock out novels over the course of a few days, but this one was only 260 pages long, and 252 after you skip the first 8 pages. And so in reality, it was pretty short. It took me about 7 hours for me to read it. I knocked out in 90 pages the first 2 hours and 20 minutes, and then the next 90 pages I did, the next third of the novel I did in about 2 hours and 15 minutes, and then the last one was more like 2 hours even for the last 80 pages. And so it's pretty quick, and I knocked it out in one day, which it's very definitely some gripping stuff, and I really enjoyed knocking out Robert Thurston's thing. So next up is the next book in the series, Blood Name. So anyway, this trilogy is the first, and it's actually pretty rare in the series to tell what is happening from the clan point of view in the clan invasion, and this is pre-clan invasion rather than the Inner Sphere clan of war. Even things and BattleTechs that are set during the clan wars are typically set from the Inner Sphere perspective, rather than the invaders' perspective. So this is pretty rare among BattleTech stuff. And to start off the ROC publishing series with this is actually, I think, pretty gutsy move. But it's definitely something very gripping. And it was the first novel I read in the BattleTech series. And in fact, when I was in college, later on, I took a class called Oral Interpretation, where you had to read various things that had been written by other people, like novels or poetry or plays. And then for our final thesis, we had to do plays on 3 different things, at least 3 different sources: 1 play, one written source, and 1 poem, and then we could add others to it as well on a central theme. And I chose for my central theme deception. And there was a quote actually from Way of the Clans that I used as part of that oral interpretation class in college that I took. So how cool is that? That's how cool it is. This stuff has definitely stayed with me, despite the fact I read it in high school and never gone back and reread it a second time. I definitely remember all of the key things that happened in the first book. I don't remember very many things that happened in the second book, but the third book I do remember, like some of the key points, but I don't remember all the details. But yeah. But this book definitely is something that stuck with me. Again, I think there's value in going back and reading things. I'll probably give it a 7 out of 10. It was gripping. Knocked out in just one day, which was nice. And it was the first BattleTech novel in the ROC series. And then they would republish everything that they had previously published in the FASTA series, except for the second book that was published. And that's the only book I haven't read from that era either. although there have been some that are more recently published that I've never picked up or read. It's also good for this channel. As a reminder, this channel cares about things. Its name is The Worst Thing About New Books, and that is a quote by a French philosopher named Jacques Joubert, who says that the worst thing about new books is that they keep us from reading the old books. So reading things that were published, in the 80s or 90s, decades ago, is fine and on cue. And in particular, as I regularly do things with Pulp Arrow, or I just read Margaret Cavendish's *The Blazing World* from 1666 and have reviewed that for you guys, and so forth. Right, so I regularly go out there and pick up some of these things that are pretty quick, and pretty fast. The sequel to this is about 30 pages longer. And then the final book in the series is actually about 30 pages shorter than this one. So it'll be even faster for me to knock out in that time. I've been devouring the BattleTech stuff at a pretty quick clip. Once I get started with it. So there you are. I knocked it out in one day. So this is basically telling the story of and this is a military science fiction in the BattleTech genre, and it's basically telling the training of a group of people that are in what is called a Sibco in this culture. These are people that have one parent and one mother and one father of each gender, and then they have, in addition to that, they have those were created and they gave their genes, and these are now genetically created, and it started off with a batch of tons, and now only a dozen are making it to training to be warriors. And the warrior class is the elite class of the clans that are about to start invading the inner sphere proper. So this is telling the pre-invasion training of that thing. So that's basically it. This is basically just a training novel set in the 31st century in one of the far periphery areas, and then that's it. That's basically the key thing. And then at the end, everybody's trained, and we'll move on to the next novel, and then we'll move into the third novel. And that's it. You gotta, and then there's a trilogy, and it's done. Robert Thurston doesn't come back to BattleTech a whole lot, unlike William H. Keefe Jr. that started the FASA series, but unlike some of our other early writers like Michael A. Stackpole, who write tons of BattleTech novels. So he is pretty cool, pretty easy on the eyes, if you will. So we'll be knocking out this trilogy. Now we'll see what happens next. So there you are. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. And BattleTech, as a reminder, set in the 31st century. We have been colonizing for centuries and centuries, and we have colonized thousands of systems with thousands of colonies out there. At least one in systems, and sometimes more than one, so that will make more than that number of colonies. And then we're definitely out there in the universe, but we have not met any aliens of an intelligent species. So we have brought all of our own foibles, all of our own issues, all of our own good parts, all of our own bad parts together, and we are just as antagonistic towards each other as we are today. So I like that central conceit. Not that we've, like Star Trek, where we've gotten ourselves better or something like that. There was a bright period for about 300 years under something called the Star League, and then the Star League fell to an Ameris coup, and it was fought successfully by the General Kerensky. After seeing the fall of the Inner Sphere, he left with his military to found and we'll find out in this trilogy, he founds the clans, and then the clans will later on invade the Inner Sphere hundreds of years later after the Fourth Succession War. Then 5 successor states vie for the Star League's crown, and in what are called the 4 Succession Wars, which destroy much of our infrastructure, our ability to make war, and weapons of mass destruction in the Ameris coup, as well as the First and Second Succession Wars were heavily used. So it was pretty nasty stuff that happened. And so now we're set in the 31st century, hundreds of years after the fall of the Star League, and now this is happening pre-invasion of the clans, but then the invasion of the clans will be happening later on in this trilogy, as the clans that were founded by Kerensky's son are now being trying to, and have not followed, are now bringing back what they, and so that'll be the next chapter of the Clan Invasion. Clan Invasion has tons of novels, has tons of other things, and that sort of thing. By now, the Inner Sphere side of this was already told by Michael A. Stackpole, which was published in the FASA stuff, and then later published in the ROC series. Hopefully I'll get to that side of things too, so you can find out what's happening on sort of the Inner Sphere, although there are some clan moments that also tell the Inner Sphere. One of our key characters from the Inner Sphere is captured and turned into a bondsman by the clans. So that's happening. And also Robert and Charette in Wolves at the Border, following the Wolves Dragoons, introduces some similarities to clan culture, which we'll see here in Way of the Clans too. For the premier mercenary unit Wolves Dragoons, that novel tells the 5-year contract of in the 20s, before the war begins in 3050. So you can see some of those sorts of things, and then Michael Stackpole will bring it all together as to what's actually happening. So you'll see some of that clan culture, clan speak, and that sort of thing from characters that you'll later on figure out what's actually happening behind the scenes in the Michael Stackpole trilogies, that they were actually sent here by the clans as to work for all the 5 houses and bring back all this sorts of information to prepare for the invasion. So that's kind of what's happening with the Wolves Dragoons. And we'll find that out in the Michael Stackpole series. So that's kind of cool. And Wolves on the Border, definitely, having just read it as a part of this deep dive, I can definitely see that clannishness that you'll do a deep dive into. But again, kicking off your collection with Way of the Clans by Robert Thurston seems pretty good. So have you read it? What did you think of it? Again, I keep my reviews spoiler free, but I'd be happy to talk about with you in the comments below, whatever your take is of it. If you enjoyed this, hey, why not hit that subscribe button? There's going to be a lot more of these to follow. And then finally, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day, investing it, and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.